One of the most asked questions that I get on this channel is, what am I doing out here to live in Thailand, and, what business did I do to get started? So people ask me over and over again, a lot of my friends, a lot of people I grew up with, like, what's the best business model? Obviously, they know that I've always worked for myself. I've had good businesses since a young age, all that type of stuff. Now, if I was to tell somebody what's the best business to start, I'd probably say the business that I'm doing right now, which is a service-based marketing business where you fulfill it with AI. Now, the reason for that is because we've now got AI to speed up services and just help you work more productively. But also, when you sell into a business has got a lot of monthly revenue, and if you can make them more money, they can pay you a lot of money. Now, they've already done all the groundwork and building it up. So if you can help them add a little bit more, you can charge a lot, right? So if I'm, like recently, we did an extra £7,000 in a month off email marketing. They've not had to pay for that revenue for a company that we've worked with. Now, for them to get another 7K in a month, every single month, by the way, they can pay us a couple thousand, and it's a no-brainer, right? Now, I use AI to assist me to do it faster. Obviously, the reason why I'm able to do that business, though, is because I've had a business. I know that I know email marketing like the back of my hand. I know e-commerce, and I know the business. I know the niche like the back of my hand from thousands and thousands and thousands of hours and hundreds of thousands of pounds spent into a business, seeing it, making all the mistakes. So I'm able to do that, right? Now, that's why I do that business model. But I didn't do that business model when I started out. And I wouldn't recommend people to do that business model because they haven't got the experience that you need for that. That's probably the worst business you could get to without the experience, because there's so many people doing it right now. But that's the reason why I chose that, right? And obviously for me, I've got a lot of friends in the industry. I've got clients people that I know and stuff like that. So that's pretty easy for me. But there's one thing that I did, a side hustle that I did when I started out. Now, when I started out, listen, I know loads about making money on the internet. I know loads about business from running my own business for many years. But when I started out, I started with zero, right? I'm only 26. I started being an entrepreneur when I was like 17. And the hustle that I did before, I went from zero to, I remember one time I had close to 6 figures in my bank account in cash. And I was fighting to spend the money because I was buying stock, and that was when I was like 19 years old, right? And that was from this business model that I'm talking about in this video. And look, anyone can do that, right? At the time, if I'm being totally honest, I had no experience. I didn't know anything. I had no knowledge. I wasn't particularly smart. I had bad habits. Like, I wasn't dialed in whatsoever. Like, I'd go to the gym, but not very seriously. I wasn't really switched on as I am now. And yeah, I didn't have any money either, right? You need money to make money. I had no money at all. And I was struggling to get a job, and I was just struggling at the time, right? And started watching stuff online, started thinking, how can I get money? Now, what I realised is I should just try and do more of the thing that I've always done, right? I've always sold bits online and always sold bits on eBay and stuff like this, right? I used to sell old stuff on eBay. I've always been able to find stuff for cheap and sell it for more. Now, there's a guy called Gary Vee who talks about retail arbitrage and, flip life, buying and selling stuff. Now, the basic premise of this is you find stuff for cheap when you know where to look for it, and you know how to spot stuff that's worth value. You then introduce it to a different audience. So that might mean that you buy it in a shop and you sell it on eBay, for example, right? You add value to it by stuff like listing it better, faster shipping, better customer service, and you make profit. Now, the good thing about this is the catalyst of how I grew my entire business. This is what I did in the very beginning, like the hard stage. And I started my business, never had a job before, bearing in mind, with £200 that I'd sold some stuff of my own. Took that, sold that, made more, bought stuff, made more, So I'm like spending 200, getting 300 back. I'm spending 300, I'm getting 400 back. It's constant flips, and every time you make some money, you buy more stuff and you make more money again, right? Now, I was a bit of a fucking freak or a bit of a maniac with it, right? I scaled it up to doing a business that did me $2.5 million in sales. Okay, so I took it to the extreme. Not everybody needs to take it to that extreme, right? If you wanted to just make another 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 a month, you can with that, right? So the problem that you've got when you're starting a business is you need capital. So it's all good, everyone's saying these new businesses, AI businesses, which are good to start and good to get into. But if you need a roof over your head and you've not got much spare time, those type of businesses, there's a lot of groundwork, a lot of knowledge. You've got to build an online profile. You've got to put your face out there. You've got to do a lot of cold DMing to businesses. You've got to create a product that, in an industry that's not getting trampled straight away. Then you can do something like you could do something like Forex. Obviously, you've got to put money in. It can go fast. You can start an e-commerce business. You need money to do that. You can do all of these popular business models, but like for the average person who's not got much time and doesn't have any skill and just knows basic stuff, like that, them type of businesses, they're not always possible to get into on the first time. So I just needed money. I came to the realization that I need money to do the next business. I needed a stepping stone, right? I needed a stepping stone, and this is really a stepping stone business. Now, what you'll find is, if you ever watch those business podcasts online, I don't know if you've ever seen them or listened to them. All of these entrepreneurs who start businesses, big businesses, I know a lot of young entrepreneurs personally, right? I've always gone out my way to meet people. These type of businesses that people start, like when they started them, it was never the business that it is now, right? They always started with one type of product, or they always started doing something completely different, and along the way, they end up doing something different, right? And that's because they do something that can get them money now. Now, the only downside with this business is you won't be a millionaire off this. Like, you're not going to get rich off this. Very unlikely. There's some guys maybe in America and stuff who do it by thrifting and stuff like that. But the problem is you can't get unlimited stock to be making millions. But, a few thousand a month you can do. You absolutely can do. A few grand a month, easy. You really can. Now, even when I lost everything, everything, I still went back to this. Even with all the skills that I had, I still went back to this. I needed money quickly. I didn't have time to set up another business. Like I were at pretty desperate times. I'll be honest, but I just did the same thing that I did in the first place. It took me a little while to finally realize that. I had to swallow my pride again. Right, that the stuff that I did in the beginning, I didn't do the second time, right? But once I did start doing that, I got back on my feet pretty quickly. And this, like I said, this isn't even the business that I do now, but it enabled me to use it as a stepping stone to then start my next business, even move country, right? Because I did that same business model that anybody can do. And I stopped being too proud for it, and I stopped trying to do things too fancy, and I just did something basic that I could do in my spare time. And the thing is with this, selling like this as well, you're still making money online. Like you're still selling online. It's still an online business, right? You're selling secondary platforms, even if it's Facebook Marketplace. You're selling online. Yeah, you've got to meet them in person, but you're still selling online, right? So this is really like the easiest gateway to starting an online business. This is the stepping stone. And when you know how to find products and and get them and sell them better, like you realize people buy them. Like people do buy them. People buy them all the time. And even to the point, this was my first realization of it unlocked this whole thing to me. It was, I noticed that these shoes, remember VaporMax Plus? They're like these Nike shoes. The VaporMax with the sole that had the air bubble around it, and they had the Flyknit ones, the 1.0 versions. They were the first ones to come out. They're really popular. And when the VaporMax Plus dropped, they were super popular, right? And they were like £170 retail, $200, $220, whatever. And I saw on eBay they were selling for 230 quid. £230 and they're £170 in shops. And I went to the size in Leeds, and I seen that they were selling. They were selling in store for 170 quid, full size runs. And I was like, how can they be selling on eBay for 230 quid? So I went home and I didn't buy a single pair, and I listed them. One sold. And not every day, but every 3-4 times a week, I'd be selling these shoes, right, for 230 quid on eBay. I'd go to size, put my mate's student discount on it. I'd be paying about 154 quid I was paying. Selling them for 230 quid on eBay. And that really clicked to me, like, it does not matter. You know, people live in random little towns where you can't order them. They're sold out online. People are just lazy. People don't care. People have more money than sense. People are used to just shopping on eBay. People buy all the stuff from eBay. Some people need them fast. You know, some people don't have time to shop around. Like, there's all these different reasons. And when you know how to spot, I'm not saying that's still a thing anymore. That was just an example. But when you know how to spot what an item can be worth, you know, there was even times where I'd literally buy an item on eBay with bad photos. I'd improve the listing and the photos and, display it in certain ways where I knew customers were going to buy. And I would sell it for double back on eBay to the same audience. To the same exact audience. And there's really because of how your money compounds and because you only need a little bit of money, but because you're flipping, that's why it's called flip, the flip. Because you're constantly flipping and your money is working for you. Now, if you go buy a house and get a mortgage right now, you're going to have to put 20, 30 grand deposit down. You're getting into an agreement for 30 years. You know, you're going through all this paperwork, all this logistics. You're not even making money on it unless someone else lives in there. So this is even a better gateway opportunity than even something like real estate. Because you're taking a small bit of money, and instead that capital being tied up in something like a house and getting your monthly income, when it's tied up in stock, it's still working for you and getting your income, right? So even if you have £200 to your name, no money in your bank account, £200 to your name, you're going to work 9 to 5, right? You go buy something for that £200, you're selling it online, that 200 turns to 300. Well, it's selling while you're at work, it's selling whilst you're asleep, it's selling whilst you're at the gym. You're not having to sell it in person. And when you know how to spot it and list it in a way that you can sell it online, and you keep following the process, like, wow, if you need to get a few thousand together quickly, like, again, you're not going to turn it into it's going to be very, I'm not going to say no one, anyone can become a millionaire if they really want. I truly believe that. But, for like that average person, just to get a few thousand together quickly, this is the best side hustle for that. And look, I can't talk about what other people have done. I'm from a working class background. I started with no money, no specialized experience, no connections. I just wanted to get my foot into proper business, and and people didn't want to let me in. People didn't want to give me a chance. I had to earn that myself, right? That was a way that I was able to do it without those things. So that's why I'm sharing this with you today. It's just a side hustle that anyone can do, and how far you want to take it, that's obviously up to you. Not everyone's got that same hunger to take it as far as I could, but just imagine how insane that is. Like, I went from picking up scrap metal on the side of the road, not spending any money, not knowing how to make money, to turning that amount of money into a business that generated me $2.5 million, right? Or 2 million quid. And it was just insane. Like, I knew it was always all from that because I never had a job. Like, I never worked. So all the money came from that little amount. And obviously, there's a few other things I did, and it's not all from that. But at the beginning, to get that ball rolling, to get that momentum and sort of level me up, that's exactly what I did. And look, when I started struggling again, I went back to the same hustle. Because when you need money to make money, and people say you don't. There's a lot of businesses where you don't need money to make money, but you need time to make money, right? And when you've not got any money, you've not got the time. So this buys you the time. And it also gives you some money. So now you've got time and money. And for me, what I realised is there's 3 things that are stopping me from... that I've got to use in order to build my money up, right? there's only three assets that you have, and that's your time, that's your knowledge, and that's your finances, right? They're the three things that everyone is after. So when I was younger, I had lots of time, but I had no finances. I didn't have any knowledge, I didn't know anything, right? So I traded all my time for knowledge and finances, right? And then once I had that, I was able to then buy back my time. But now I've got knowledge and finances, and that's when things really started moving for me. You know, when I lost everything, I was in the position where I had no finances, but I had knowledge, right? And I had no time. So it's trying to balance those three. And when you can balance them all together, you know, you can do well. And a little side hustle like this, wow. This is just the one that I did myself. If you're watching and there's a better one, I mean, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear it. But yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you guys. Anyone watching this, wanting to start a business, wanting to start a little side hustle, listen, if you've got 10, 20, 30 grand in your pocket, then, you know, the ability to start a business the probability of success in that business becomes a lot higher. And if you've got a little bit of money and not much time and you need to turn that into something, this, in my opinion, again, you might know a better way. There's no better way to do it. So I just thought I'd tell you about that side hustle. This is one of the side hustles that I did, and you know, it worked for me. If you want to try it, go ahead and try it. But yeah, if you need any more information on this, I know a lot of people asking me like what I'm doing out here, but in my opinion, that's the one that you need to focus on, because then it opens your options up. So yeah, I mean, I'm on Instagram. If you've got any questions about that, drop me a message on Instagram. My Instagram is the same thing as my name, Theo Clough. See if that'll focus there. I post content for my email offer on there, but that's my Instagram. So if you need to get in contact, drop us a message. Yeah, all the best, guys.